What if I told you buying a house can actually make you poorer? For a lot of Black families, homeownership gets sold like automatic wealth, stability, and success. But nobody talks enough about the hidden costs, the pressure, and how one mortgage can turn into years of stress, debt, and survival mode. In this video, we're breaking down the house trap that keeps so many people broke and how to tell when a home is building your future or draining it. A lot of us grew up hearing the same message. Stop renting. Buy something. Own your home. Real adults own property. And I get it. For Black families especially, homeownership means more than walls and a roof. It means security. It means dignity. It means finally having something with your name on it. After generations of being locked out, denied, pushed back, and redlined, owning a home can feel like proof that you beat the odds. So when people talk about buying a house, they're not just talking about money. They're talking about pride. They're talking about safety. They're talking about legacy. That's real. But here's the problem. Somewhere along the way, we started treating homeownership itself like automatic wealth. And it's not. A house is not magic. A mortgage is not a blessing just because a bank approved it. And getting keys does not mean you got ahead. Sometimes, it just means you signed up for a bigger bill in nicer packaging. Let's make this simple. Being house poor means the house takes so much of your income that there's barely anything left for the rest of your life. So yes, you own a home, but you can't save, you can't breathe, you can't rest, you can't fix emergencies without panic. You can't enjoy life because every dollar already has an assignment. And most of those assignments live inside the walls of that house. That's house poor. It's when the mortgage looked manageable on paper until real life showed up. Then it's property taxes, insurance, repairs, maintenance, water heater, plumbing, roof leaks, HVAC problems, appliances dying at the worst possible time, and that one mystery issue every house seems to develop right after closing, because apparently homes like to prank people. And none of that is funny when you're the one paying for it. This is how people end up in that strange place where they own a house, but feel broker than they did renting. They've got a guest room, but no emergency fund. They've got a backyard, but can't afford a vacation. They've got granite countertops, but they're eating struggle meals and praying nothing else breaks. That is not financial peace. That is financial cosplay. The house trap hits Black families especially hard because many of us are starting with less margin, less inherited wealth, less family backup, less room for mistakes, less ability to absorb one expensive surprise after another. And that matters because a house is easier to carry when you already have a cushion. If your water heater dies and you've got 10 or 20,000 sitting comfortably in savings, that hit feels different. If your roof needs replacing and your parents can help, or you have investments you can tap, that hit feels different. But if you're first generation everything, if you're the helper in the family, if people already depend on you, if one big expense can knock your whole life off track, then the house does not just become a home, it becomes pressure. And the numbers tell the story. Black homeownership still trails far behind white homeownership, and Black buyers face higher denial rates, heavier housing burdens, and higher insurance costs in many cases. Black homeowners also often pay more over time through higher rates, mortgage insurance, and property tax burden, which means even when we do the right thing, it can still cost us more to hold on to it. That's why this conversation cannot be shallow. Because for some families, buying a house is not just a purchase, it's leverage on top of fragility. And fragility plus debt is a dangerous mix.
The big lie. If you can get approved, you can afford it. Let me say this as clearly as possible. Approval is not affordability. A bank approving you does not mean that home fits your real life. Banks are not grading your peace. They are not grading your stress level. They are not asking if you still want to travel, help your family, retire with dignity, or sleep at night. They are asking one question. How much debt can this person carry before it becomes our problem? That is not the same as asking what is wise for you. A lot of people buy based on the maximum number the lender gives them. That's like asking a treadmill for relationship advice. Just because you can qualify for a number doesn't mean you should live at that number. If the payment leaves you no margin, it is too expensive. I don't care how cute the kitchen is. I don't care how nice the neighborhood is. I don't care how hard you worked to get approved. If one job loss, one car repair, or one medical bill can put your house at risk, the house is too much. And people don't talk enough about margin. Margin is what keeps a blessing from turning into a burden. Margin is the difference between we had a surprise repair and our whole life is upside down.
Next, a house is a tool, not a trophy. This is where people get emotional, so let's keep it real. A house can absolutely help build wealth, but only if it fits into a bigger plan. If you treat the house like a trophy, it can break you. If you treat it like a tool, it can serve you. A tool is useful. A trophy is for appearance. And too many people are buying trophy houses with tool money. Big payment, thin savings, nice zip code, bad flexibility, beautiful countertops, ugly cash flow. That is backwards. Real wealth is not, I own a house. Real wealth is, I can afford this house. I can repair this house. I can keep this house without sacrificing my future. I can still save, invest, breathe, and live. That's wealth. Because if all your net worth is trapped inside a house, but your actual day-to-day life feels tight and fragile, then your money is not working for you the way people think it is. A house should support your life. Your life should not be sacrificed to protect the image of the house. Now let's talk solutions, because this is not just doom and gloom. If you want to buy a house without getting trapped, you need to move different. 1. Buy below your ego. Do not shop based on what impresses people. Shop based on what gives you room to breathe. The best house is not the biggest one you can squeeze into. It's the one you can carry without fear. 2. Count the real payment, not just principal and interest. Count property taxes, insurance, maintenance, utilities, HOA, repairs, yard care, everything. Because the mortgage is just the opening act. The full bill is the whole concert. 3. Have a repair fund before you buy, not after, before. Because houses are professional line crossers. They do not care that you just closed. They do not care that you're tired. They break when they want. 4. Don't let the house be your only asset. Still save cash, still invest, still build retirement, still protect yourself outside of real estate. Because if every dollar goes into the house, you are one broken furnace away from a spiritual experience you did not ask for. 5. Be open to a smaller start. Starter homes, condos, duplexes, modest homes, even house hacking. These may not look glamorous, but they can be far safer than buying too much house too early. 6. Protect the house legally. If you do buy, make sure ownership, beneficiaries, insurance, wills, and paperwork are handled right. A lot of families fight hard to get assets, then lose them through confusion, probate, or lack of planning. Ownership without protection is incomplete.